Good afternoon, folks. Alberta Transparency here. So, I've been wanting to do a video like this for a little while now, and I've already made one of these requests before, but I'll do another one here for you now just to kind of walk you through it for those who don't necessarily know how to do one or have never done one before. So, what we're going to do is an Access to Information and Privacy Act request, also known as ATIP. The American equivalent is the FOIA request, which is a Freedom of Information Act request. So it's fairly simple. Typically, you can do these in person, or now you can actually do it online, which is really nice. Of course, they'll ask a payment of $5 for an ATIP request, but you can also get it in paper form as well, so they'll mail it to you, or you can do it electronically, which is also really nice. They do try and accommodate that way. So, without further ado here, I'll go ahead and show you how to do this. So, very simple. Just go to Google, type in ATIP. It's the first one that comes up. Just a little bit of information here for you. So you have to be a Canadian citizen or a U.S. citizen to be able to do this. You can also make an ATIP request even if you're in the States, which is kind of nice. So, yeah, it's pretty simple. As I say, you can do it even if you're in the States. It doesn't really matter. So if you have a public record that you want to make a request for and you live in the States, you can. And I'll show you how to do that as well. So, departments that are presently accepting ATIP requests online, very simple. There's a complete list of institutions here, so you can just click on this. And there's an A to Z here on how to do that and where you can make your request. So, Canada Border Services, Nuclear Safety Commission, Food Inspection. Food inspection is basically for looking at inspection forms that are done for restaurants and liquor licensed establishments. They even have the Space Agency or Canadian Security Intelligence Service, which is basically the Canadian equivalent of the Central Intelligence Agency in the States. So they have a head office in British Columbia. Department of Finance and Department of National Defense. So I'll just kind of quickly scroll through this. So let's say I want to make one for the RCMP. So I can close this. Just go right down to next. Privacy notice here that you'll have to go through. So you can pause the video if you want, read through some of this. I mean, very simple. You can't get any further unless you just press I have read and understood. So you can just skip over a lot of this if you want. But there is a little bit more information here that you can click on if you need a little bit more information. So just click continue. So I'm not going to bother going through all of this here, but I'll just quickly explain it for you. So you select where you want to make the access to information request from. So in this case, RCMP. You have to be a Canadian citizen. Now online, you can't do it anonymously, which sucks. I wish you could. I don't like the idea that they don't have that option, but that's just the way it is. So you got to give your name, street number, all that other good stuff, your full address, city, province, or state. So here you can even put in your state. So pretty simple. You just find like US if you're in the US and you want to make an ATIP request. So very, very simple. I did see it here. Yeah, so US, put in your state. Very simple. Scroll back up here. Then you need your postal code or area code, your email, a little bit of information here that we'll click on here, give you a little bit more of a breakdown as to what you can do. So if you're requesting it on your own behalf, yes. Otherwise, unfortunately, and I don't agree with this at all, but you may be asked to provide consent if you're making the request on, let's say, somebody else or for somebody else. Then you need their consent. Now, from what I know of in the States, and I could be wrong, I do try and study a lot of Canadian law and U.S. law as well. Like, I have been for over 10 years now. So as far as I know, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong here, but most times in the States, you can make it anonymous. You can do it in person as well, and especially if you're asking for, like, let's say, your public school district, you want public records requests for the safety sheets or MSDS sheets, safety sheets on the buses, that sort of thing. You can get that in person, so you can film it, you can take pictures, and you can examine it in person. I've seen plenty of videos on that, so I know you can do that as well. Typically in Canada you can do that as well, although there are lots of people in Canada that don't even know you can do this. So I've tried to make those requests in the past, and they just tell me, well, it can't be done. And it's just because, they don't even know that you can make these kind of requests. So it's ignorance on their part, and that's not necessarily meant in a derogatory way. It's just that they're ignorant in terms of they don't know. So without that education, then they won't accommodate you because they don't know that they have to or that they can. So that's kind of unfortunate, but that's where we need to do our research and then just let others know that these requests can be made. So if you're a member of the public, you select member of the public, so a category that best describes you. If you're making this request on behalf of a media organization, a business, any other organization, then you have to select that, and this is just a little bit of information here on what that entitles. So I'm a member of the public. So that just means I'm making the request and I'm requiring it for my own personal purposes. So department will do its best to return the requested information in the format that has been selected. So right here, it's actually really nice. They do try and accommodate you the best they can. And whether or not they're able to get that request for you, or if nothing is found, either way you will hear back, and they'll either if you've asked to have it done by email, they will email you back and say, essentially, sorry, we weren't able to find that record, or yes, we were able to find that record and we will get that out to you as soon as possible. Now typically the law is that they have 30 days to respond, and that's 30 days max to respond. If they don't respond, which is kind of rare, I've done a couple of these in the past, and I've always heard back from them. I actually made one yesterday, and they got back to me within like a 14 or 15 hour period, something like that. So within a day, I've heard back. So they are fairly quickly, and it's not just an automated response. You'll actually get an automated response, but when you hear back, it'll be from a human emailing you back to let you know that either the information was found or it wasn't. So in one way or another, you will hear back from a human, which is good. Unfortunately, a lot of things these days, it's all automated responses, and it sucks. So you can examine in person. You can request a paper copy, which will be emailed, or not emailed. Sorry, it'll be mailed to you. Electronic copies will be emailed. Pretty simple. So you select that. You select continue, and when you select continue, that'll bring you to another screen. It's going to take me a while to fill all this out if I wanted to do one, so I'm not going to bother doing that. But just to explain further as to what the process is, you hit that continue button, and they'll ask for a one-time payment, and that payment is a set rate. It'll never change. It's simply $5, so it's not that much. You can do it by check, by money order, or by debit card or credit card. So either way, they'll try and accommodate you through payment. And as I say, they have 30 days max to respond. And typically, if the records are being withheld, then they can, the ATIP will can and will let the government agency that you're requesting the information from know that they can't withhold that information because it's public record, so they have to provide it. And typically there might even be a fine with that as well. So if they refuse to give you that information, then legal action can be sought there as well. So that's kind of the way it works. It is fairly simple to do, as you've seen. If you have any more questions, any more comments, please leave them down in the comments section. And I do try and respond to every comment that I do get. So hopefully this will help you out in making Canadian ATIP request or a FOIA request. And yeah, as I say, if you have any more questions or comments, feel free to put them down in the comments section, and I will definitely do my best to get back to you. Alright, Alberta Transparency out.